This is Brian Young, Super Bowl champ, 49er. You're listening to Matt and Dexter on The Grueling Truth.
Garoppolo, deep down the middle, that's a liftoff. Shanahan and Jimmy, Bill in Montana. Speaking for the Empire, salute from Santana. Yeah, handoff, down the middle. Beast through the D-line and made him look brittle. Out of nowhere, Sherman in the corner. 60 other way, huh? Kings of California. Every breath, tribute to the greatest. Dwight Clark in our heart since the catch when he made it.
As we build, brick by brick, no imitation, just the passion while we reppin' them Niners. We are the 49ers. Who are we? We're the 49ers.
Welcome, everybody, to the 49ers Weekly Show on the Grueling Truth Sports Network, brought to you by Replenishing Care Technologies, the future in sports medicine. Check it out at thegruelingtruth.com. I'm one of your co-hosts, Matt Andruscavage. I'd like to welcome in our other co-host, former 49ers running back, Super Bowl 29 champion, Dexter Carter.
Hey, Matt, good to be with you again, as always. And again, hey, another win by the 49ers, the only undefeated team in the league. So you know what? They're rising to the occasion. 49er faithful has something to be proud of, and the 49ers are still well on their way to having a tremendous season.
No doubt about it. 8-0. I did not see an undefeated first half of the season, though we did see them playing pretty well at the start of the season. We thought that they would do well, but man, 8-0, only undefeated team left as New England lost to the Baltimore Ravens the other day. Wow, what a start to the season.
Hey, great start. And the thing is, nobody really knows what's going to happen. The only thing usually is for sure is that the Patriots probably are going to have an opportunity to be undefeated,
Yeah.
for the first half of the season, just being honest about it based on their past. But the thing is anything is possible. You know, you want to get off to a good start and you just want to gel together as a team. And what this team has done is not only gel together as a team, but all the pieces of the puzzle that were put together over the last 5 years have really come into their own and are performing up to the capability in which all these guys like Kyle Shanahan and, Lynch thought they would be. So this is just great, again, talent evaluation and talent development by these coaches that were brought in. And these guys are maximizing their potential, but maximizing their abilities, but also the opportunities of these plays that are called offensively and defensively and special teams. Do your job. And if you do your job as an individual, then as a team, you have success. And that's what's happening right now.
Sure is. There's a lot of good things going on. We took a little bit of time off from the show to go on Facebook Live and whatnot. But this is our first show in a couple of weeks, so we did not get to talk about the Carolina game. And then we just had the Arizona Cardinals on the Thursday night game. So just real quick, the Carolina game was kind of going into that game, you thought this was going to be a tough opponent and probably a tight game. The Carolina Panthers were coming off a 4-game win streak. Their quarterback had not thrown an interception. They were coming off a bye week. Probably a tough game, but the Niners took it to them right from the get-go and got up 27-3 at the half and ended up winning the game 51-13. That was probably as complete of a game as we've seen from them all year. And then they had the short week against Arizona.
Absolutely. And the 49ers, I don't think anybody expected, or Carolina surely didn't expect, the 49ers to come out and have 7 sacks. Who would have thought that Carolina would have allowed 7 sacks? So when you do that, you know what, you shorten, you make the field long for Carolina, and you get the ball turned over and give your offense more opportunities, to be successful and score. And that's why you see the high score that the 49ers had and the less score that Carolina had. So, when you talk about, the Panthers only gained 230 yards, compared to, 388 by the 49ers. Now, one of the biggest challenges for the 49ers was to stop McCaffrey. Now, McCaffrey still, in my opinion, got loose, and you expect that. I mean, he's McCaffrey. He, one of the leaders for the MVP in the league, but again, the 49ers stepped up when they had to and continued to put that pressure on the quarterback and get to the quarterback when they needed to, and, and get the ball to that offense, who in this game, again, Garoppolo, managed the game really well. He didn't take over a game, but the running game was going. Kittles did his thing. So you know what? They did what they had to do. And what they did is got the ball in the end zone. They scored in the red zone. So that's how you can score 50-plus points in a game, which is really tremendous in this league when you can score that many points on anybody.
That's right. And you really said it. The defense took over the game. The Carolina Panthers had a very difficult time generating any drives. They were absorbing a lot of sacks, a lot of pressure from that front four, and some blitzes. And then also they were able to get 3 interceptions on the back end, which was really nice because Emmanuel Mosley, the guy who's been stepping in for Ahkello Witherspoon, got his first pick. Richard Sherman got an interception. And so it was just really great to see all the things that they were able to do for a complete win. And you really said the right thing about Jimmy Garoppolo. He managed the game after he did throw 1 interception. But after that, he was pretty much perfect. And here's the thing about Jimmy Garoppolo. Going into the Arizona game, he was leading the league in third down conversions, third down percentage. And that's really what you want to look at, because the run game was doing so well and the defense is doing so well. Why pass if your run game is doing that well? Why risk quarterback hits, strip sacks, that sort of thing, in-errant throws, when you can run the ball? And then when you have to pass, if you can convert on third down, and that's where you saw the addition of Emmanuel Sanders really shine through right away. He converts a third down, gets a touchdown on the first drive. Really, really big to have Emmanuel Sanders aboard. And I think it's really helping Jimmy Garoppolo, who was going into the Arizona game. That third down percentage was huge, and that's what kept the Niners on the field so long.
Absolutely. And when, Sanders making an impact so quickly, goes to show you that, one, he's able to pick up the system really quick, which, to some people that says a lot, or it could say a little, because, one, when you play in the league for a while, routes are routes. Passing tree is the passing tree. You just got to get your terminology down, but still you got to gain the confidence, in each other, especially the quarterback and the receiver. And he made an impact. He caught the ball when he had the opportunity. He had a couple times that he got a little excited and, and had false starts. But, we'll forgive him for that, because that's the simplest thing, look at the ball and whatever. But they didn't hurt the 49ers. But when Jimmy G needed him, he rose to the occasion. So, that's just another tool to the arsenal that, Garoppolo is going to continue to use as they go through the season. But, the one thing I like is Garoppolo threw the early interception, but he nor the team focused on it. They just moved on, and that's what you have to do, especially when you've got the defensive backs intercepting the ball, turning it over, getting it back to you. So just created more opportunities for the offense to, go down and score. So they did. This team is doing what they have to do in the individual games to win. As we get into the most recent game, we'll see. Hey, defense didn't play their best, but you know what? Hey, they won a close game. Those things are going to happen. But we'll get more into that when we start talking about the Arizona game. But the bottom line is, they took care of business with Carolina. They won big, got a lot of confidence because they know they can score, really not at will, really, but they've got the game plan to move the ball down the field, whether they want to take a long shot down or methodically move the ball down, running it or short passes. So this team is well-rounded, to really be successful against anybody they go against.
That's just it. They are built to beat anybody, anywhere. And then you saw it against Arizona when, the critics would say, well, the defense is carrying them. The run game is carrying them. Well, if you watch the Arizona game, and again, bear in mind, this is they're doing all this on the ground without Kyle Juszczyk, who's probably the best fullback in the league by a mile. And they're starting tackles. They're on their numbers 4 and 5 tackles, and they're having this kind of production. And Jimmy Garoppolo is not taking a lot of sacks, and they don't have a lot of penalties. That is huge in the depth department. So they go into the Arizona game. Arizona comes in, and they start taking it right to the defense. Kenyon Drake ran for 110 yards. Kyler Murray, difficult to bring down, completing a lot of short passes, throwing some screens into the blitzes, and really frustrating that defense. in a tough game. And Kyle Shanahan said those Thursday games are tough because, you don't have a lot of time to recover. And a lot of times the offense has the advantage in those kinds of games. And so you could see the defense was a bit on its heels. And also on the offensive side of the ball, I wouldn't say the running game was just totally on point like it had been. This game came down to Jimmy Garoppolo because for the game, the Niners only ran for 101 yards and a 3.3 yards per carry. That's not a dominant run game performance. So it really came down to, if they're going to win the game, they need Jimmy Garoppolo to step up, and he sure did. No turnovers, 28 for 37, 317 yards, 4 touchdowns, and again, Emmanuel Sanders stepping up huge, 7 catches, 112 yards, and a touchdown. And it just seemed like whenever they really needed a drive, Garoppolo kept them on the field, kept moving the chains. They were 11 for 17 on third down again. I mean, that's just huge. So all in all, they grinded a difficult game out, but I would give the game ball to Jimmy Garoppolo because he completed some really difficult passes on third down, and that's what won the game because Kyler Murray never saw the field for the last 5 minutes of the game.
Yeah, Garoppolo definitely stepped up and showed something that I had been looking for. He hadn't been playing terrible. He's been playing well, as we said earlier, managing the game, and not managing the game in a negative way like some people speak. He's been playing well. But running game has been going well. The defense has just been taking over ball games. But the running game wasn't bad this game. But Garoppolo stepped up and played the way he's not one of the top MVP candidates, but he played the way an MVP candidate should play. He threw the ball in a way in which he, did what he's supposed to do to win the game when the running game isn't not necessarily on point, but we're just not running the ball a whole lot. And the defense surely isn't turning it on like they were. But I think you got to give Arizona some credit.
Yes,
I think
you're right.
They had won the previous 8 or 9 meetings. So they came in with some confidence. They came in with an energetic new head coach, a quarterback that's playing very efficient, and a running back who just came over from Miami, and Drake, who proved in the very first game, just like Emmanuel Sanders is doing with the 49ers, Drake did with Arizona. He came out and really ran the ball extremely well and was successful, after a week of practice, if that. And Arizona's defense is no slouch. I mean, they've got some talent over there. And the 49ers had a short week. So everything that could have been against the 49ers were against the 49ers. And they came out and won. Yeah, it was a close game. Defense didn't play their best. But I'm going to tell you, usually you're not going to see a team play the way the 49ers are playing, go undefeated throughout the year, and anybody on the outside looking in be very confident that they're going to get through the playoffs and get to the Super Bowl because nobody's being undefeated except the 72 Miami Dolphins. That's right. But I think even though a lot of people say, man, they shouldn't go undefeated, everybody's got to lose one. I've even had my thought on that at different times. But when you could have these challenging games like that, and not that they played bad, but the fact that they played a team that really stepped up and played well against them. To me, that's as good as losing a game and so you don't have to worry about, oh, man, everybody's going to lose one. So that means that they're undefeated. They're not going to get to the Super Bowl. I don't think that way. I think as long as they're challenged and it's not like they're playing terrible, but the other team's playing well, to me, that still says a lot about your team. Win those games that are close, because there's a lot of teams that are 8-8, and 7 out of those 8 games that they lost are games that they lost by 3 points or less, or 6 a touchdown or less. They couldn't get those games. They couldn't win them. Well, the 49ers won a close game. It was a tough game. So to me, that's as good, as a team losing one before the playoffs, because it puts things in perspective. That's what people say. But the bottom line is, you know what? No, they're playing well. They played a tight game, and they're surely going to have a tight one, this upcoming game against Seattle. It will say a lot, again, about this team and their continuous development, as they move on into a tough NFC stretch of games.
That's right, because, they're going to have some tough games. Like you look back, the Buccaneer game was tough. That game was in play until the very end. The Steeler game, especially 5 turnovers, and they find a way to win that in the last minute. Those are games that they would certainly not have won last year, the year before, and those are games that good teams find ways to win. And this Arizona Cardinal game is just like that. It's a tough game. Arizona Cardinals they're a scrappy team. I think they've been playing pretty well all year, and they give teams trouble. They've got a lot of good players, and they've got a good scheme, and they just play well. Niners took all of that on the road on a short week and grinded out a win. You're not going to win every game by double digits. You're going to have to win some of those games, like you said, in tough fashion, and they did that. So I agree with you. Sometimes I had thoughts on that too. I'm like, well, if they got to lose the game, let them lose in Baltimore. It's an AFC game. No big deal. No harm loss. No harm, no foul. Because I don't know that I'd want to go undefeated in the regular season and have them have all that pressure on them. But on the other hand, you play who you play when you play, and you forget about what you've been doing up to that point. You just go and win the game. So however they finish, I know that they're going to be ready for the postseason, which is great because now we get to talk about postseason football most likely in just a few weeks. But we don't want to get too ahead of ourselves, right? Because we got the Seattle Seahawks coming up. This game reminds me a lot of the Week 11 game from 1994, the last Super Bowl year, when the Dallas Cowboys came into town. The Dallas Cowboys had won 3 in a row. The Niners had some early season injuries to their offensive line. The tackles were coming back. It was a huge game because the Cowboys had won 3 in a row, and it's just kind of that sense: can they beat the Cowboys? Can they take control of the NFC? And the Seahawks are a lot like that. They're the division rival. The Seahawks have largely, I don't want to say owned, but I guess I'll have to say it. They've kind of owned them since 2013. It's been kind of a long road, even though they won last year on the last second field goal. It wasn't like it was for the playoffs or anything like that, or to go to the playoffs, although it was an important game. When the game has really mattered, Seattle has won. And so this game is really important because if they're going to win the division, if they're really going to contend, this is the kind of game they've got to win to show themselves, hey, we can beat Seattle. We beat the Rams. We can beat Seattle. We can beat probably the best quarterback in football, the MVP candidate in my mind, Russell Wilson, and take control of this division. Because if you win this game, Seattle drops to 7-3, and the Niners would be 9-0, and then Seattle's on a bye. So they'd be 3 games up on them plus a tiebreaker. Huge for the division. So very similar to me, like the Dallas game, where you got to show that you can take control. The tackles coming back from injury right around the same time of the year. The Niners got to show what they can do. So what do you see happening for this game?
One, I have to say that this is the making of one of the toughest divisions that there is. The Rams are underperforming. Arizona showing that they're capable of beating any one of these teams in their division. And Seattle, you could take Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson that don't really care what the 49ers are doing because their mindset is still that they believe they're the best in this division and that they're not only competitive, but they can come out here, go into Levi Stadium and beat the 49ers. So the 49ers got to be ready. And I'm sure their mindset, the psychology of what Kyle Shanahan is doing, this 49er team is going to be ready. It's going to be a really, really good Monday night game, one of the best, if not the best, thus far this year. So Russell Wilson's going to have that team ready because he has no fright. He has no fear. He is going to, he's fearless. This kid here, I remember playing against him when I coached at Florida State and he was at NC State, and I saw it in him then, and it's no different now. And he's got parts around him that are different than when they won the Super Bowl and was just completely dominant in this division and the NFC. But in his mind, they're still that dominant. So the 49ers got to come out, and the defense can't play. And when I say they can't play the way that they did against Arizona, that would say that they played terrible. They didn't play terrible. Arizona played well. They need to come out, though, and be more successful against Seattle than they were against Arizona because Russell Wilson is different than Murray. I like Murray. I like what he is bringing to the table for the future. But Russell Wilson is right now and Russell Wilson's going to come out, and they're going to be fearless. Metcalf is playing his best ball out there as a rookie at receiver. They've got that running game going. The defense, the parts are, again, different than what they've had in the past. But they're going to come out and they're going to be ready. So this 49er team, I think, will rise to the occasion. They will be ready. And I'm looking for a barn burner here Monday night.
Same here. The Niners go into this game with the number one passing defense, number one overall in yards per game, number 2 in points per game allowed, number 3 in third down percentage allowed, 16 total takeaways, good for 4th in the league. Great defense. And then on the other side of the ball, on the offense is number 3 in points per game, number 7 in yards per game, number 3 in fewest penalties. That was a good stat. And then number 3 in third down percentage converted. All of that aside, I mean, those stats are great. It's nice. I like the improvement that we're seeing. It's really, I don't want to say meaningless, but the stats are. To me, you start over. You're 0-0. I think they gotta put the 8-0 aside. Don't read your press clippings and just focus on the Seahawks and just find a way to grind this one out, because you said it. This is going to be a really tough game. Russell Wilson's as good as anybody in the league, and they're going to have their hands full. It's great that they're the number one defense, but they could get Russell Wilson is no slouch. So they got to come right back out and prove that they're the number one defense and play really well against Russell Wilson. So it's going to be tough. Losing Quan Alexander for the year was probably the low point last week. Maybe the heart and soul of this defense with his energy at weak side linebacker, but they've got capable guys coming in at backup. I think Dre Greenlaw is going to be tested, like you said. They got the run game going. He can't. His weak point is he bites on fakes, and so hopefully that's not going to happen this week. So the pass rush has to play well, and then Richard Sherman's going to have those defensive backs ready. So I look for just a complete difficult game, but it's a game the Niners can win if as long as they don't turn the ball over and continue to convert on third down and get touchdowns instead of field goals in the red zone. They can definitely win this game, but I definitely would not look for this to be like some double-digit win. This is going to be a tough game.
Yes, you mentioned something about Alexander at linebacker. Yes, he is definitely going to be missed, but this defense is a complete defense, and you're right. His backup has got to come in and play extremely well, but I believe that the number one thing that they've got to worry about, especially on third down, because Russell Wilson not only throws well from the pocket, but he gets outside on the edges, and he gets those yardage needed for first downs. He does it over and over again. So, the defensive secondary can have great coverage, but he finds a way to get outside those linebackers and get those first downs. So I think that's going to be the key on not only keeping Russell Wilson in the pocket, but if he gets outside on those edges, it's going to put pressure on Bosa and on Ford that they've got to run him down, because they're going up against a quarterback now, just as Murray could run. But Russell Wilson got the experience, and he's got the productivity on this level that shows, one, you better account for my ability to throw down the field, but I can get around on that edge and get first downs when we need to convert on third downs.
You said it. Russell Wilson's very hard to stop when he gets outside the pocket. So it's going to be up to the defensive ends to set the edge, make sure that he can't just run around out there, and they're going to have to get pressure on him early and often. I guess on the offensive side of the ball, they have to do the exact opposite. They can't allow Seattle to set the edge. They can't allow Seattle to get at Jimmy Garoppolo. And the Niners got to be able to run the ball. The other thing, I think if Matt Breida and Tevin Coleman can establish the ground game and keep Russell Wilson on the bench, that's going to bode really well for their chances.
Oh, no doubt about it. Keeping Russell Wilson off the field is definitely going to bode well for the 49ers' chances. But I think when you're getting offensive linemen back, key linemen, starters back that were hurt, I don't see any reason why, our stretch game, our zone game cannot work. With the way our backs are running, I think it's going to be a really good game running the ball. Now, is it going to be extremely tough? Yes, it is. But the way Coleman is running, the way Breida is running, and I tell you, Mostert coming in and does a great job too if needed. But those running backs, that's going to be the key to the game, is establishing that run game and having one, maybe up to 3 big-time runs. Don't have to be touchdowns, but I think 20-plus runs that these guys have shown that they can do during the season thus far, I think that's going to be key in this here game, not just sustaining drives, but also maybe breaking one for a touchdown. And but getting into the red zone and scoring is going to be key for this offense. And I just don't see them failing. I love Seattle's defense, but I also love the 49ers offense even better, especially after Garoppolo had the week he had last week. It just brings an extra amount of confidence to their balanced attack.
Yep, I feel the same way as you do. So I know we've made some predictions in the past. Are we? How are we feeling about predictions this week? Sounds like you're picking them to win.
You know what? I am picking them to win. I'm not going against them. Hey, I was up front in years past when I said, hey, they were not going to win and gave reasons why. Yep. And we've given reasons this whole show on why we believe they're going to sustain this winning that they've been doing thus far. And I'm going to say it again. They're going to win. Now, based on the score, and I can't give an exact number, but I will say it does not mean that the defenses won't be playing well. But I do believe the offenses are going to score some points. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think it's going to be, somewhere between 37, 35. It might be a touchdown that separates the two. But the game is going to get in the 30s. It's going to be a Monday night showdown, and the offenses are going to shine. Russell Wilson's going to do his thing with his feet and with his arm. And, he's going to utilize his running backs and receivers. And the same with the 49ers. I think Garoppolo is going to use his legs less, but I do think he's going to be successful throwing the ball, because when you got Kittles, and these receivers that we've got in addition to Samuels, you got to move the ball down the field and you're going to score as long as they protect the ball, which they, to me, has shown that they can do. I think it's going to be a high scoring game. And I think the 49ers will come out on top, somewhere between 3 points to a touchdown, better than the Seahawks.
You've got almost the same thing that I've got. I got the Niners winning 34-28. I completely agree. I think the offenses are going to be better than we expect, and defenses will play well at times, but it's going to be a quarterback run, and it's going to be the quarterback in the running game versus the quarterback in the running game. It's going to be who's going to be able to make the most plays on offense that's going to win this game. So I'm with you. I got the Niners winning a kind of a high scoring game. Yeah,
and Matt, I think the offenses will play as we expect. I think they're gonna play exactly how we expect. I think, and the defenses will too. But somebody's got to give at a certain point, and I think it'll be more of the defense giving, because Russell is just too skilled. He's too experienced, not to take advantage of some of the things that the defense would do. And that doesn't mean that they won't be playing well. The one thing I hope doesn't happen, because if we go into the fourth quarter, and we're up by 3 points, a touchdown or less, I believe you never give Russell Wilson a chance with 2 minutes to go in a game. Mm-hmm. I think a minute and 30, you don't give him a chance, because he's shown that he has the ability and the skill to dissect the defense and methodically move that ball down the field. And if you cover well, he's going to use his feet to get downfield, get down if they got timeouts, or get out of bounds, to save, the clock. So if it comes down, to the last couple of minutes and they got a chance to go down and score to win, then you know what? It's hard to bet against Russell Wilson. But I'm going to hope that it doesn't get to that point.
Well, there you have it. So the 49ers will be hosting the Seahawks on Monday night, and it's going to be a great game. So hopefully the Niners are going to come out on top and take even further control of this division, hopefully go 9-0, and we'll hopefully see a great game. So I know I'll be watching. I know you'll be watching. Next week, I'll be out of town, but we're probably going to get on Facebook Live a little bit and you talk about the game, maybe even just 10, 15 minutes, take your questions. So I want to thank everybody for listening. It's been a fun season so far, and hopefully we're just getting started. So So for Dexter Carter, I'm Matt Andruscavage. You've been listening to the 49ers Weekly Show on the Grueling Truth Sports Network, where the legends speak.